and the Kentucky Wildcats preseason number 4 off to a 1-0 start, stomped Howard on opening night 95-63. But the big storyline coming into the beginning of the season, Lance, there was no Oscar Tshiebwe and there was no Sahvir Wheeler. What is going on with the Wildcats?
Well, as of right now, Oscar Tshiebwe sitting out with a minor knee injury. He had a procedure done on his knee midway through October. Said it was about a 15-minute little procedure just to kind of clean some things up. He was out for the season opener against Howard, like you mentioned, and Coach Cal has been pretty secretive, honestly, about his status throughout the past few weeks. Has said that he didn't expect to see Oscar on Monday. He said that he was doubtful for the Duquesne game tomorrow. And he said he would be somewhat surprised if he was in the lineup. And similar things he said about Sahvir Wheeler. Wheeler actually had a similar knee injury, not a procedure done, but a similar knee injury. And he was out after the Missouri Western State exhibition game just a few days ago. So yeah, both those guys were out for the game against Howard. But like you mentioned, huge win, 30-point plus win for the Wildcats. So not a ton of concern. But if this thing does continue, there could be some questions rising from the fan base. Absolutely.
And especially with, I'd picked up on as well what you mentioned about Coach Cal, excuse me, being, yikes, pretty secretive and veiled about it. Does that give you, like, to me, that says this is worse than he's letting on? Is there anything that leads you to believe?
I think that from my perspective, that could be a possibility. From my perspective, though, I don't necessarily think it's something that's extreme, both for Wheeler or for Tshiebwe.
Okay.
My perspective on it has been, I think that they had the minor procedure on Tshiebwe, and we're going to hold him out regardless until the Michigan State game next week. And so I think that that's a chance where you could see both these guys not play against Duquesne tomorrow, but you could see them ready to go against Michigan State. I genuinely believe if they wanted to play one or two of those guys or both of them this Friday, they would. If Michigan State was playing tomorrow against the Wildcats, I think that they would be in the rotation. Now, whether or not we do get to see them against Michigan State is the question. If we don't, then that theory is confirmed, then that maybe this is a little bit more serious than we think. But to be honest with you, I'm not particularly concerned about it until we see them potentially play against the Spartans or not. We'll just have to see.
So all eyes will be on the Champions Classic next Tuesday night. Do we get to see the reigning National Player of the Year back in action? I know the whole college basketball world, except maybe Louisville fans, is hoping so. Part of the reason that Kentucky and Coach Cal feels comfortable to leave both of these two guys, to not rush them back, is because of freshman Cason Wallace. What did you see from him against Howard on opening night?
I said it heading into the season, Isaac, and I'll say it again here. He's my favorite player on the team because he allows Kentucky to do a couple of different things offensively that Sahvir Wheeler did similar things, but it's not necessarily the full bag. I think Kentucky is just as good in transition with Cason Wallace running the point as when Wheeler is. But the difference here is the size. Obviously, Sahvir Wheeler undersized, 5'9". Cason Wallace, though, 6'4", can handle the ball just as well. You look at his stat line against Howard: 15 points on 7 of 11 shooting, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. Got really close to a triple-double in his first game as a Wildcat. Also had 2 steals on top of that. He was pegged as a very talented defender coming out of high school, but not enough people were talking about his offense and what he could do. I think as a draft prospect, he's been kind of pegged as this like 3-and-D type of guy, but he truly does have the entire bag. He's got the mid-range. He's explosive whenever it comes to getting to the rim in transition. So he's got everything. And on top of that, he's 6'4", which I think a lot of Wildcat fans are really happy about. And this is not to discredit Sahvir Wheeler, obviously one of the best assist men in the entire country, obviously, but you start to feel maybe a little bit more comfortable about the upcoming non-conference slate with Gonzaga, Michigan State, Michigan, Louisville. You've got all these different really big games coming up. You start to feel more comfortable and say, okay, let's say Sahvir Wheeler maybe isn't 100% throughout this non-con slate. Well, you've got Cason Wallace, I think, who is just as capable of running this Kentucky offense, and I think he proved that against Howard on Monday night.